Well, hello, good day, everyone. Beautiful day here in the Midwest where the pussy willow is blooming voraciously behind me. My name is Ryan Evans. I'm a certified master level astrologer with the Stephen Forrest School of Evolutionary Astrology. However, in my 24, 5, 6, 7 years of astrological study, I've been doing my best to integrate the teachings of a wide variety of teachers, authors, etc., to try to find a more, uh, I suppose, what my wife would call integrative approach to uh, evolutionary astrology. So today we're going to be talking about relationships. Is there anything on this planet that will make us evolve quicker, that will bring us to uh, quicker insanity, or how about quicker bliss and transcendence than relationships? Why? What's up with that? What's going on with this stuff? And so, if you think about it, many of us have been looking at our charts since we first heard about this astrology stuff and became curious about it. Maybe it was 2 years ago for some of you, or maybe it's been 40 or 50 years for others. And we are still, I know I am still at my young age of 48, still trying to figure out a whole bunch of things about my own personal chart, independent of anybody else, just myself. Oh, how do I do these nodes more consciously? Oh, how do I not devolve into the shadow aspects of my moon, etc., etc. And I'm, here I am, professional astrologer, still, working with these personal issues and these personal challenges sometimes, and trying to find it in my chart. And every once in a while, I'll get it and it'll be, bliss and redemption. And, let's face it, much of the time we don't get it. But, here's my chart. And then all it takes is another chart to come into the picture. And we have Ryan with all of his complexities, all of his baggage, all of his issues, all of his karma. And here comes another person with all of their same, be they friend, lover, parent, sibling, or otherwise, somebody with all of their stuff. And this incredible whirlpool, I mean, that's almost, a whirlpool seems too simple. It's a whole big jumbled mess. It's a shaken margarita or something of all of these different issues and baggages and karmas and complexities coming together. Oh my gosh. So how do we navigate this? What do we do with this? How do we maintain our sense of self and our self-love? How do we take care of ourselves amidst this incredible cauldron of relationships? So the very first thing I want to do, though, is I want to celebrate relationships, because there is nothing else on this planet. Well, maybe one thing, but we'll talk about that another time. There's nothing else that can make us evolve so quickly, that can bring us into consciousness. And it's called this: I need you to get conscious or else I'm leaving. Okay, yes, I will get conscious right now. That kind of situation, that can really push us into places where it's like, all right, I've got to face my issues. All right, I've got to deal with my stuff. All right, it's time to go see the therapist. All right, time to ask the astrologer, what am I going to do about my thing? And so we want to thank that. We want to celebrate that, because the whole purpose, in my humble opinion, of this existence that we are in is to grow and evolve. Um, Two quotes from Dan Millman. He says, you can go ahead and sit in the cave meditating, fasting, being austere for 20 years, and that is nothing compared to the challenge, the discipline needed, and the rapid evolution that can come from relationships. And I actually just forgot the other thing he said, but I'm sure it'll come to me one of these times. So there it is. Nothing else is going to make us evolve so quickly. We are, the mirror is held up before us, and we are forced to look at our stuff, mainly because our stuff is affecting another person. And I don't know about you, but I sure don't want to hurt anybody. And I don't think anybody I love really wants to hurt me. But invariably, stuff comes up and stuff happens and feelings get hurt and contention arises or questions arise or fear arises or jealousy arises or sadness or anger. Stuff comes up. So what do we do with it? Now, the disclaimer part here is that I am a human and I am learning lessons too. And under no circumstances do I have this human life or astrology or you or any of these charts I'm going to look at or my partner. Or I don't have everybody figured out. It's going to be a long time, probably many, many, many more lifetimes before I am born with all of the answers. I mean, doesn't that sound very interesting? I wonder what that would be like. And so please know that I am not a psychologist. I am not a therapist. I'm not a marriage and family therapist or counselor. I'm an archetypologist. And so I am offering answers, solutions, remedies to to these questions that we're going to see here, based solely on the symbols, based solely on the archetypes. Not because I am some kind of person who knows everything about relationships, au contraire. So please know that the answers I give herein are works in progress, that they're opinions, that they are the best I can do, the most objective view I can give for relationships. But again, please know that if I knew if I knew everything about relationships, then my Jupiter in Capricorn would probably want to capitalize that, and I've already written several books. So I have a way to go before I've written any books on relationship. Nevertheless, this seemed like a very delicious topic to jump into, because just about every human being on this planet has a capacity or need to some degree for relationships. And it's also, again, one of the most complex and sometimes stupefying situations that we humans can get ourselves into. So let's see if we can unravel some specifics here. I was given 5 charts. Five people asked questions with their corresponding charts, and we're going to jump into those here in a second. But again, please know that what I'm about to offer here is kind of the best I can do in the limited time, and try to do each one of these in about 10 minutes or so. And let's just jump in here and see what kind of magic unfurls, shall we? So let's look at the first question. Camellia asks, considering my Pluto in the 12th house, Libra, I need to understand how to work on distinguishing fantasy from reality in relationships before the Virgo crisis happens. Smiley face. I need a strategy. And then question 2 with that, which is related to the first. I'm attracting partners with whom in the composite charts, Neptune squares the nodes. What's the call? Generally speaking, of course, I understand each case would have its specifics based on the rest of the chart dynamics. Thank you for that, because that is so true. But I'm gonna spin both of these questions together for a second. Neptune square the nodes. Pluto in Libra in the 12th house. Neptune's natural house there in the 12th house. Pluto and Neptune, Pluto in Libra. Oh, look at that. While it's out of sign, looks to me like Pluto's square the nodes there. So we've got Pluto in Neptune's house square the nodes in Camelia's chart. And so therefore she seems to be attracting partners with whom the composite chart Neptune is square the nodes. So right away, I want to offer just a little tiny clue to analysis that sometimes the answer is in the question. So what are we looking at here? Let's take this apart a little bit. Considering Pluto in the 12th, how do I work on distinguishing fantasy from reality in relationships? Well, the quick, terse answer is, I guess that's the work, isn't it, with Pluto in the 12th house? When we, what do we do with that? My compassion goes out to anyone with planets in the 12th house. And here we have the planet of crisis and intensity, of really hardcore, life-changing circumstances in the house of suffering. So, hey, here we've got crisis and suffering. Oh, have a good day. No, we're not going to leave you with that. I mean, oh, geez, wouldn't that be horrible? But why? Why did we choose? And I firmly believe that we choose our charts. So why did we choose to have Pluto square the nodes from the 12th house? Well, here we go. The 12th house is the realm where we must do this. We have to let go. We have to give up our desires, Pluto. We have to give up our desires to the flow of the universe that is beyond our control. So first off, we see with Pluto in the 12th house, regardless of the sign, what we're looking at is a life-changing evolutionary adventure through the hell and the crisis of what it means to not have control. The fantasy comes up, but I want reality. How do we do this in the house of suffering or longing? Or so again, the very first answer I can give to anyone with any planet anywhere in the 12th house is that we have to learn the spiritual truth of what healthy detachment looks like. Now, healthy detachment in relationship, what does this look like? What this looks like is that fantasy is attachment. We suffer when we are attached. If we suffer when we don't get what we want, we suffer when we get what we don't want, and we even suffer when we get what we want because we can't hold on to it forever. Welcome to the 12th house. So therefore, any planet in the 12th house is our master teacher. And therefore, what is Pluto's master teaching to us, the master teaching of Pluto, and specifically Pluto in the 12th house, and specifically in Libra, is to hang on the meat hook, slow roasting over the coals of hell until our skin drips off and our bones burn to a crisp, and there is nothing left but the impenetrable diamond-like core of our heart. The meat hook can't penetrate that. But the rest of us, our desires and our needs and our wants and our attachment to this world or the things of this world, we are going to suffer no matter what if we think we're going to hold on to it. So how to distinguish fantasy from reality? If it's something that you feel you have to hold on to, there's the suffering every single time. Come into relationship, not my will but thy will, O Lord, and it comes to us, and whatever feels good and is yummy, and then we try to hold on to it, or we try to control it, or we try to inject our fear in it. Or if we want to bring the nodal story into it, we have a Gemini, Saturn, South Node, 9th house. We have been affected somehow by belief. There has been some story told, perhaps by father, that this is the way things should be, and oh, yep, everybody's supposed to live happily ever after, or some kind of Cinderella story, and we pick this up in our youth. Gemini, we pick this up in our youth, and maybe we were told in our youth, oh, you're going to live happily ever after. Oh, you're sure to find the perfect partner. And then we believe this. And whenever we see the South Node in the 9th house, we hold on too tightly to a belief. Opposite that, the North Node in Sagittarius, conjoined Venus in the 3rd house, says, hey, let's open up. Let's stay light about this. Let's, instead of trying to Pluto in the 12th house, hold on to everything, and it's going to be so great because somebody told me about the Cinderella story in my youth, and everything in my life, Venus opposite Saturn, has been kind of contrary, but I still believe in, and nothing's going to hold on, nothing's going to match my fantasy, so therefore I will always suffer. North Node in the 3rd house in Sagittarius says, we don't know anything until we experience it. And so we get into relationship. So long story short, Camellia, 12th house, how to distinguish fantasy from reality in relationships before the crisis happens. Let go of the fantasy part. Let go of the belief that relationship is some beautiful, blissful thing, because it's not. It's absolute hell, and it's gonna rip you apart, and it's gonna put a meat hook in your back and slow roast you over the coals of hell every time. But we want that to happen, because what we're going for is the diamond core, as we said, of self. Pluto polarity point, Virgo in the 6th house. The reality happens when you are loving yourself, when you are taking care of yourself, when it's just you and you're doing your thing and you're in love with yourself and you don't need anybody else, and that's when they show up. Oh, geez, I had no belief that that was going to happen, except because the astrologer said so. But you see what I'm saying? So as you can reel it in, take care of yourself, strengthen yourself, do the Virgo 6th house, or do the I'm sorry, where was I going there? No, Pluto opposite Libra, Aries, that's what I was saying. Aries, the love of self, the taking care of the self. Oh, that's why. Okay, Virgo. I'm going so fast here. So the Pluto point in Aries in Virgo's 6th house is about loving yourself, taking care of yourself, doing the things you know you need to do for yourself. And then what happens is you're so radiant and powerful that then you get to use those things, those techniques that you've used on yourself to discern, is this just some pie in the sky Cinderella story belief of everything's going to be, happily ever after? Or am I going to understand that relationship is work? And that's where Neptune square the nodes comes in the composite chart, where Neptune always says, your job is to let go. Your job is to not control. Your job is to have faith and have compassion and have love, even if that means letting go of that person or letting go of that fantasy, or letting go of our fantasies and completely engaging wholeheartedly in the work necessary in the relationship. So Neptune square the nodes, what's it gonna be? Maybe a Virgo, Pisces polarity. I'm not sure, but do you see what I'm saying here? So looking at the
Yes.
time, do you have any quick reflections on that?
Thank you so much. This is really, 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 of course, relevant because what happens, and I've noticed this, is that I do get into the fantasy real quick. And so for some reason, there's some sort of devotion because I see potential for the relationships, and I totally blank out of the actual what I was happening. And there is something that's locked in me, like, oh, this is supposed to be for life, which, okay, I preach to everybody that no relationship is for life, and at the same time, my unconscious patterns are, oh, what's gonna happen if this goes away? And so I compromise myself, and all kinds of series of events happen that at the end find me like totally ripped off to the core, as you said.
Yes.
But I absolutely thank you for, because we look at charts, as you said, and but we look through our perspective, which to a certain extent we can shake a little bit, but it's so much different when, like I hear this from you, and it's a slightly different perspective, and it's so helpful. So you answered my questions. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Mm.
Yay. My pleasure. All right. Uh, Number 432, 432, Kimberly. Yes, come on up. And Kimberly says, I have observed a pattern with my relationships. Let's just look at that for a second. Do we ever have patterns in our relationships? Okay, that right there, big. As soon as I become more empowered or independent, I find myself withdrawing from intimacy within committed relationships. How might I find a greater path to connection and intimacy while maintaining my sense of freedom of self? Kimberly, bless your heart. I mean, is that not the quintessential question about relationships in general? But let's look at your chart here, Kimberly, and see what's going on. And oh, sure enough, there we see a South Node Chiron conjunction in Aries with the ruler Mars in Capricorn conjoined Mercury in the 8th house. The nodes are squaring the sun, and I'm gonna say that on either side there, we've got both Pluto and Uranus in wide, but still I'm gonna call that an opposition to the South Node. So you want to be empowered and independent, huh? Boy, let's see. Ever had a pattern of desiring that? Well, let's see. Oh, South Node in Aries, past lives of being empowered and independent. However, look, there's Chiron. Oh, what happens when we become empowered and independent? Is that okay? Do I feel okay about this? Am I going to hurt anybody? I better What do I do with my power? I'm going to be really powerful. No, I'm not going to be really powerful. Wait, I'm going to be really strong. Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. No, wait, I'll reel that in. I'll try to be nice. Pluto and Libra, I really need to try to be nice. And because, being nice is really good and being kind is really good. And so therefore, Pluto in the fifth house, therefore, I'm going to attract everyone I've ever been in relationship with in any past life into this life so that I can clear karma with them. That's part of the fifth house, ladies and gentlemen, the people that we bring into our lives in order to clear karma with them. Yep, I know we think about it being all fun and play and the house of self-expression, etc. But be it known, again, this is the house of romance. And so therefore we romance this person and then maybe that person. And we either create some karma there or we clear some karma there. So right off the bat, looking at this chart, I can imagine past lives of Kimberly having past lives of being an incredibly strong, powerful person at a very young age, coming into this and then having people come here and oh, what's that? And oh, hi there. And so I could imagine, Kimberly, that at a very young age, having relationships, boy, what do we do with this? Oh, let's try to have a little fun. Okay, whoa, that went a little too far. Okay, let's not have any fun at all. Okay, well, that went a little too far. Oh, geez, how do I maintain my sense of freedom and still have connection? Wow. So we could look at all sorts of things about this chart. We could look at the fact that that Pluto is in conjunction, a quincunx, to Venus. So I want to have all of this compassion for you, Kimberly, right off the bat, that you, like Camellia and probably like everybody else we're going to see here, have chosen the path of relationship to be the path in which we evolve. Your north node is in Libra. You are here to experience what it means for it to be about more than just you. The two, where the two become one. But again, Pluto and Libra and the past life stuff, well, I've been trying that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And as soon as I become more empowered and independent, I find myself withdrawing from intimacy. Why? Because it has hurt. Because lifetime after lifetime, we get into this chart, the soul who's percolated up into this chart gets into intimacy, wants it to work, wants it to feel really good, wants it to feel joyous and celebratory, have an element of the divine, the fanciful, the romantic, and maybe even the fantasy fulfillment. Oh, look, there's a Moon-Neptune conjunction in Venus's seventh house. So, oh, not to mention Venus in Pisces. So you kind of see how they're all starting to talk to each other. In fact, that's just as an aside, that's the little trick with this astrology stuff. Moon-Neptune in Sagittarius in the seventh house sounds a lot like Venus and Pisces could sound, right? And so we look at these similarities and we say, okay, they're both kind of saying the same thing here. How do we not allow ourselves to devolve into some place of fantasy or idealism about relationships and understand, again, that relationships are the ultimate spiritual discipline? So very succinctly, how do I find connection and intimacy while maintaining my sense of freedom? You're a Sag moon in the house of trust. That means to me that it is imperative that you find individuals who share that same Sagittarian and Neptunian sense of possibility and openness and uh, 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 and maintenance of freedom and a sense of self. So it's not like, oh, go find an emotional Sagittarian or a spiritual teacher, they'll be perfect. But your right partner has Sagittarian or Jupiterian qualities, especially because Venus is in Pisces and it's saying the same thing here. So how to find that right person is by trusting your own sense of discernment that has happened to have been wounded, Pluto and Libra in the fifth house, by the constant search for this love and this happiness and perfection in relationship, when, let's face it, lifetime after lifetime, there has been uh, a, 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 here I come to relationship. Relationship is hard. I'm going to get out of this because if I don't get out of it, I'm going to lose myself. And then we get out of it and we've still lost ourselves because we don't know who that person was that made that choice to give up that relationship, because that could have been good if we only would have. Oh, so here we go. North Node in Libra. Number one, calm down. Number two, come back to your own personal self-expression and joy, fifth house. It's some work. You got Pluto there. Maybe there has been some wounding to everything I'm talking about here. And so it becomes even more necessary, Venus in Pisces, to have incredible compassion for yourself, to have incredible self-love, for you to be your best partner to yourself. Like I was saying with Camellia, and probably like I'm going to say to everybody else, that when you love yourself and you take good care of yourself, you will not allow yourself to jeopardize or sabotage any worthy relationship, because it's worth it to you. And so it's finding the relationships that are worth it to you. The relationships that will be worth it to you will be the ones that have to feel right. Can't use your mind. That's the past life with the ruler of the South Node conjoined Mercury. Too much went into well, this person has these qualities but not enough of these qualities, and therefore that they're a 7.5, and so that's just not a 10. Oh, and this person's an 8.9, but that's not gonna. But when you can put your hands on your heart and feel the other person, or imagine yourself with this person. Say you're in a relationship now. I don't know if you are or not. You're in a relationship now, and you've been in the relationship for a year, and it's all going good. And it's like, what's going on? Why is this? Why is it so good? We can sabotage ourselves very quickly if we don't have that sense of, I know exactly who I am, and at the same time, and I'm trusting my intuition about it. So Moon, Neptune in Sag in the 7th house, you have to come back to your intuition, hands on your heart, saying, speak up, heart, and then trusting what comes up. Any planet in the 7th house, there's some trust issues there. There's some need to really work on that trust stuff. So how do we trust our own heart? Especially when it can be filled with illusions, Neptune. Wow, you see how complex it is? North Node in Libra, come back to calming down. Come back to an equilibrium of self, and come back to the 5th house, joy. So when you can imagine Moon Neptune, combine the imagination with the feeling, and you're in relationship, and you imagine how that feels over time, you might be like, oh my gosh, this could be really good. That's at that point where you've got to check yourself, because the South Node karma is, oh my gosh, if I get into a relationship that starts to work, I'm going to have to get out of this, sabotage it, or do something to get out of this, because I might lose myself. You have to lose yourself, because that's what relationship is. There's you, there's the other person, come together, you with incredible strong senses of self. The paradox is you end up losing, you're loving yourself so much that you blend yourself with the other person. You become a meta-human. The two become one. Again, I understand that's scary. I understand there's past life trauma around that. But again, hey, this is your evolutionary intent, to come into a relationship that is joyous and celebratory. So how do you do that? You find a Sagittarian who values freedom, but also has Capricorn. Let's see, you've got Capricorn ruling your 8th house. So in the intimacy, you need not only the sense of freedom that Sagittarius has that helps you build trust, but also the commitment and the maturity that Capricorn demands for intimacy. So how do you find the greater path to connection and intimacy? It's a long path, but if you can pull it off, and you can have the faith, and you can calm down, not go away, then you can call to yourself, you will call to yourself the right person that will share your same values. How do we do there? Are you there, Kimberly?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I really appreciate your advice. I like the equilibrium of self. I'm going to definitely tune into that. And I was laughing at the beginning because what you were saying about clearing karma and how all these faded relationships, that's exactly my whole relationship history in this lifetime. It feels like I'm just constantly clearing karma, and it's very, very, it becomes very clear, the faded events and things like that. But yeah, that Neptune moon squaring Venus gets me into trouble. And as I've matured, I can notice it more when I'm kind of slipping into that. But yes, you're absolutely right about the losing myself is the scariest thing in the world, you know? So I will definitely be taking your advice.
And awesome. And here's the beautiful thing is, you're in the right relationship where the relationship helps you strengthen your sense of self, number one, and number two, you really, really want to be with this person. So it's a little tricky sometimes, but your destiny, North Node, is Libra. Relationship. What kind of relationship? How does that really play out in the fifth house of, of unself-conscious expression, joy, childlike wonder, and happiness? So there's a little thing here that says, you know, as I've been saying, relationship is the hardest work there ever is. For you, it's almost like there's an ease that comes. So look for that. So call that to you. My best suggestions.
Thank you so much. I will.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Elise. Elise says, I would love to hear from Ryan about nodal oppositions between partners. My partner of 7 years has his north node in Virgo, opposite my north node in Pisces. This relationship is very karmic and immensely challenging. We're like two opposite magnets. Is it easier when your partner has the same nodal position? And how do the nodes interact in relationships in general? Well, there's another hour and a half discussion. But thank you for that question, because it's actually a really important question. First off, the nodal opposition. Here's what I want to say about that. Is that when we are engaged with another individual in relationship and our nodes are opposite, it takes incredible consciousness by both parties for it to work out. And here's the beautiful thing, is that if both partners are very conscious and can own their own stuff, and the Virgo South node says, yes, I suppose I can be a little critical sometimes, and the Pisces South node says, yeah, I suppose I can be a little, detached and and what did you say? Sometimes, if both people can own that, then one represents the evolutionary thrust that the other person needs. If both people are in the relationship committed and conscious, then it's actually can be a really perfect balance. One helps Pisces Virgo polarity. One helps the other to stay inspired and to feel the call and move forward, and the other helps the other to stay grounded and practical and take things step by step. That's a magnificent balance. Your chocolate and my peanut butter. Yay! Together, that's delicious. However, when we, and this is the challenge of relationships with nodal opposition, if we or the other are unconscious sometimes, or we're in a bad place and the other person's in a rough place, then you quit dreaming. Well, you quit being so real. Well, why do you have to be so critical? Well, I'm just trying to help. Well, quit trying to. You can imagine where this goes. It's the age-old war between dreams and reality. How do we integrate them? I don't know. Ask the fresco in the Sistine Chapel where the fingers never really touch. So, yes, it's karmic, and it is, and relationships like this are karmic in that, done consciously, the other person again can be an inspiration for the other. Now, is it easier when your partner has the same nodal position? Absolutely not. Because that means that, well, if we both have Virgo South nodes, then we both can be, say, hypercritical, just, for one of the 74 different possibilities, or we can both be too critical of ourselves, or too stuck in our have tos or our duties, and then we both are learning the lessons of what it means to go with the flow and play and be open to the magic and mystery of the universe. Now, sometimes, you share the same nodes. Maybe one of you is having a more conscious day and the other is having a less conscious day. Yeah, hey, come on, we can do it. This is our work, right? We both have Pisces South nodes, and we both have Virgo North nodes, therefore. So this is this is an opportunity for us to really get to work. Okay, I suppose you're right, that's fine. Okay, and I can get up and get to work. They can act like cheerleaders. So is it easier or harder? Let's face it, it's all, again, it's all very hard. So the reward has to be worth it in any relationship, right? There has to be some reason that we're in relationship. Maybe our hearts uh, burst into joy when the picture of our beloved comes on our computer screen. And that's just one of a billion things on the list. You know, that's a good relationship that you want to work towards, and you want to take care of your stuff, and you want to, be healthy so you can contribute to that relationship, because it's really worth it, because it feels really good when it's really good. Oh my God, it's so good. That's worth it. That's worth doing the work every day. 12 years. What do you want? Ah, go fix me a turkey pot pie. No, that's not. But we're still in this. No, we're going to make it work. And you can see my back getting hunched over, and I'm frowning. Is that worth it? Oh. So we have to be very careful, again, with ourselves. We have to love ourselves so incredibly deeply that we show up to that relationship. If the other person doesn't show up, then in the scales of relationship, here I am holding 120% and the other person's 80%. Yeah, there's some balance for a little while until this person fatigues and crashes, and then this person says, why did you do that? Well, because I was holding your 20%, dude. And so we have to be very careful that, hey, here I am. We have a nodal opposition. This is what I'm owning. Can you own this? And if the answer is yes, then, and it's worth the work, then do it. And if the answer is no, then we're just beating our head. So how do the nodes interact in relationships in general? The nodes in general are those points that are like the North Node is the great suggestion for our evolution. And the South Node shows our talents and skills, but our patterns that have, run its course, and, we need to change and make that jump. So the nodes in general in relationship, especially in conscious relationship, we can look at them and say, okay, here's your South Node in Cancer, hyper emotionality again. Okay, yeah, thanks. How dare you talk to me about that? Oh, but I guess you're right. Okay. The nodes are so important in conscious relationship, because again, in this situation, uh, my partner with his North Node in Virgo, and you with your South Node in Virgo have mastered that Virgo stuff, you can say something like, hey, all you got to do is get a calendar and write in it and show up That's all you have to do, which is a major evolutionary leap for a South Node in Pisces. But that can then be a clue for the South Node in Virgo that, gosh, maybe it's okay to throw the calendar to the wind every once in a while. So we can teach each other, we can help each other, we can encourage each other, and we can cheerlead each other when we have an awareness of the nodes in general. Do you have any questions about that, dear?
I guess, yeah, that was a really amazing explanation. So thank you.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering, like, in this situation, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's felt unsafe to go into my Pisces North Node because it seems like I'm locked into Virgo. He is so Pisces and so detached, and it seems like detached from reality. It seems like in order to make it work, I have to stay in those South Node tendencies, and it feels really like a risk, like putting everything out on the line to go toward that Pisces detachment.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of us has to be connected and grounded. And
no, both of you have to be connected and grounded. It might be a little harder for him, but it takes two to tango. Otherwise, it feels scary, like you're going to completely lose yourself. And that feels more like 150 pounds on this side of the scale. And so I understand the Virgo desire to be of service and to be helpful and to clean up other people's messes. But that's the lesson of a North Node in Pisces, to not do that so much. So it feels so. Let me ask some more specific questions before I get a little more radical. And you are currently in committed relationship with this individual?
we are married and we have been separated for 3 years, but there is a really strong attachment and emotional entanglement and some level of commitment, I guess, on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely have to look at his chart and other specifics. There's a lot of other dynamics that can come into play with questions like that. Just be it known that it is very, very, very dangerous in my experience. I mean, what do I know? I'm an archetypologist, not a doctor. It can be very dangerous to assume all the responsibility of for the relationship. For one person to, it can be very dangerous for one person to assume all of the responsibility in relationship, in keeping it afloat, because we will crack, and that is not our job, because otherwise they're a marionette and you're like, dance with me, and that doesn't sound fun. And so my encouragement to the two of you, if you both had desire to make this relationship work, and I put quotes on that because we have to be careful not to try too hard to make relationship work. Know what I mean? I've been working for 60 years to get this relationship to work and it just can't work and I'm done. And oh, geez, I just wasted 60 years of my life. So I would recommend very much so, since I'm not a professional, that there are seem to be other dynamics at play here. Why do you feel you need to keep hanging on to someone who's not showing up? We could talk about that one. Why, why is he not showing up? Is he doing any sort of, like, oh yeah, it's so comfortable, she's taking care of everything and I don't have to do anything? Well, this person needs a little talking to, you know what I'm saying? So I would recommend that if this is a relationship that you want to continue, that it is imperative that you come together in some sort of counseling, some sort of verbal counseling, where you can have this discussion with him with an objective third party, and can work out these dynamics more specifically. This is what I need, this is what I want, this is who I am. And then the other person's kind of forced to listen to it in that therapeutic setting. Does that sound like anything that's possible?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sweet. Because the way it's set up, not having his chart in front of me, but just knowing that according to your chart, you're a Jupiter, Sun, Juno in Taurus, 7th house, you need a relationship that not only feels good, but is also full of trust and safety and relative predictability. Okay? And if you don't have that, your sun is not going to be happy. And if your sun is not happy, then it will cloud the whole rest of the chart. Astrologically, I want all of my clients to be happy. How do you be happy? By astrologically speaking, by finding, establishing, maintaining, sustaining relationships that help you find that ease. And if you can't find that ease, then it's because it's stuck in the South Node pattern of everything is not easy. Your North Node is in Pisces. You're here for it to be easier. So what positive, proactive steps can you take to encourage that, either in this relationship right now or in healthier relationships in the future?
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure. All right. Moving right along. How will I pronounce your name? Patri? You're muted.
Patricia. Okay.
I see.
Hi, Ryan. It
Hi
says in Spain they call me Patri. So
Patri. Okay.
yeah, but it's Patricia. Thank you.
Very good. Well, Patri asks here, question 1. Why do I always attract men with issues? For example, jealousy, gambling, drinking. Question 2. I've been single now for almost 10 years and can't seem to find love. The few men I encounter are unavailable or just plainly not worth my time. I'd love to share my life and give and receive love from a partner, but I feel like I'm invisible. Okay. The answer to question number 1 is not to sound glib or short or discounting in any ways, but every man has issues. So if you're interested in attracting a man, you're going to attract a man with issues. Even the most conscious of us have our forays into things like jealousy or gambling and drinking, unsophisticated energy release. Very common for us men. So why do you always attract men not even looking at your chart yet with issues? Number 1, I could say, because every single man does and will have issues. Now, I understand that's not that satisfying of an answer, and you want an astrological answer. Well, welcome to being a 12th house Libra with Pluto, pretty close there, but you still have Pluto in Libra, and let's see, South Node in the 5th house in Pisces, with the ruler Neptune in Sag in the 1st, and Jupiter in Leo in the 9th. So the first thing I am going to suggest, and some of this is repeating some things that I've already said. Well, definitely with Camellia, with the 12th house stuff that we talked about, and we talked about 5th house stuff too, and South Node and Pisces too. There can be a tendency, there can be a tendency for those with Piscean planets in the 5th house, we'll say, to idealize romance. Oh, I'm going to find somebody who's available, or I'm going to find somebody who's worth my time. That doesn't sound too idealistic, does it? No. And so I'm going to look at this person. Oh, he's a drinker. And I'm going to find this person. He's perfect, but he just gambled away all my money. What about this person? Hey, you're awesome. You're awesome. No, I'm not looking at anybody else. It's okay. I want you. No, hey, quit accusing me. No, I'm not doing anything. Oh, I gotta just imperfect. We want it to be perfect. Pisces South Node. We maybe in past lives you have had some experiences of perfection. Maybe in past lives you've seen some actually magnificently wonderful, dreamy things, and maybe they, like in good Pisces fashion, slipped through your fingers, and therefore we come crashing down, and it wasn't perfect. So nothing's ever going to be perfect. And oh my gosh, here I am in my suffering. We have to understand that South Node in Pisces, we can be actually quite attached to our own suffering. Oh, the longing. Oh, the dream not unfulfilled. Oh, can't I just be happy? Or if you were American, what about the American dream where I'm supposed to have everything by age 40 and the perfect wife and the husband and the 2.5 kids and the 3-car garage and the 401k? It's not necessarily like that. You have a North Node in Virgo. North Node in Virgo actually says that there is work to do, that there is effort that must be engaged in. And so, not to say by any means, not knowing your biography at all, but, so not to say that you have necessarily approached relationship this way throughout your life. Maybe you worked really hard at it, but at what point does the jealousy, the gambling, or the drinking, for example, in question 1, do we just get to a point and I'm not going to tolerate any of that? Or is there all right, let's work on this. Let's try this. Hey, can you see this counselor? Can you do it this way? Hey, maybe you've got a problem with your drinking. Hey, maybe we can work through this. Do you want? So here's a question I would ask. At what point have you left relationship? So can you answer that question?
Yes, of course. My first relationship was 3 years, And my last relationship was 17 years.
Oh, okay. So
That's
in that,
relationship.
so in that 17-year relationship, was this man unwilling to work through his issues?
Yes,
Willing,
yes, really.
and
I,
so
I, I
that,
think I maybe like it when I was in my teenager years, first love, he was like sick, jealous. Not everybody has a little bit of jealousy, and it's normal. But he was like really bad in that. But and what I think I was there in the South Node Pisces, thinking everything was perfect and blah blah blah. But in my second relationship, I worked really hard with him, and I gave him so many chances. What you said about let's go to counseling, do you have a problem? No, he just couldn't see it.
mhm.
And the question was, because I forgot. Sorry, what was your question? If I worked?
um, yeah, my question was,
How long? How long I was in a
right,
relationship?
yeah, right. And so,
Yeah.
and, and so sometimes we can be in relationships for 17 years and we can have faith that somebody's going to show up and somebody's going to do their thing, and it's going to be okay, and we forgive them, and we can 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 forgive them for 17 years.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage the Virgo North Node in you to have limits as to what you can tolerate. But at the same time, we have to also understand that, hey, there are these things that, if they show up and they work at it, well, that would be wonderful. Did your 17-year relationship, did they show up? Did they work on it? Did they go to counseling?
Yes, they did. I've been 10 years single now.
And
So they worked. I've got some experience about it. I know what I want now
mhm,
and what I don't.
right. And so now that that's over, you know who you are, and you know what you can tolerate, and you know what you need, and etc. So here's where I would love to suggest that your Gemini moon in the 7th house is asking for trust. Do you believe that it is possible for you to find this love of your life?
That's a good question.
I would say that.
This now, sorry. No, I said that at this moment, I think that's a thing that made me think right now. Your question is, I think I don't. I think I like in above. I think do, but really inside, I think maybe that's the problem. I don't have trust in that I will find somebody. Yeah,
So with that,
that right
so with
now.
that, so with that moon opposite Neptune squaring the nodes there, I would venture to say that to the degree you can reclaim trust, reclaim reclaim the possibility of trust, to Gemini moon, to be curious about the possibility of you trusting that somebody out there is not only worthy of you, but will show up and will be honest and will be truthful and will be solid and will be grounded. If you can reclaim that ability to trust, I make no guarantees, but my guess is that you'll be given an opportunity in which to test that. So in that, it's huge. It's so huge. Having faith that, you know, a relationship is possible. When you've had faith that relationship can work and it didn't, there goes the trust. And you, Mr. Astrologer, are asking me to have trust. Oh, so I would ask, looking at the moon opposite Neptune, were any of these patterns formed? Did you see any of these uh, patterns that you're experiencing now in the relationship between your mother and your father?
Um, no,
No.
well, no.
Okay.
My parents they've been married 52 years. My father worked very hard. He was a absent father, but he was working most of the time. But he was with us like when for in um his vacations. But no, they get along very well.
Mm-hmm. And were both of them present for you in your childhood?
Like I said before, my father was a little bit less. He's to work a lot, but um, yeah, I had my father very idealized. I was I loved my father a lot. Now that I got there, we crash a little bit because we're both very nervous people.
Mm-hmm.
But we get along well. But yeah, he was absent when I was there. But I mean, like, from until 13 years old,
Oh, okay.
then on I was present.
Pretty formative. Well, uh, bless your heart, and it's here where I say, perhaps you can go to www.ryanevansastrology.com. We can explore this further because there's definitely some complexities in here. Uh, Among them, I'd love to just pay a quick note. I want to keep moving, but a quick view to your Mercury, Uranus, Mars, Venus conjunction in 12th house, Scorpio. And this is what I want to say. And this is going to sound a little weird, but do you practice magic?
No.
How about this?
I mean,
Intentional prayer,
yeah,
visualization.
yeah, sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
My Gemini moon is where, but
Uh-huh.
my doesn't stop always with my Gemini moon. But yeah, I do a lot of visualization. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself spiritual?
yes, a lot. Not religious.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So, so in closing, real quickly, and I know this isn't necessarily a solution, but I'm going to encourage you to go into that part of yourself where prayer and imagination come together, and do a whole bunch of soul searching to ask yourself is what kinds of fears might come up when you consider relationship. I hear words like invisible and attracting
Yeah.
unhealthy men. But ask yourself what kinds of fears come up. And then when those fears come up, I'd like to ask you to use your imagination, your spirituality, your creativity to imagine what it would look like if you did not have them. And if you did not have those fears. And then I would like to encourage you to imagine what would happen if you actually did find, quote, the man of your dreams. What would that look like? What would that feel like? How would that feel in your body? What kinds of conversations would you have? And the reason I'm saying this is because it seems to me, and this is just intuition, but it seems to me that there's almost a programmed physical response to even the thought or the dream of happy, healthy relationship. Like they're like, oh, happy, healthy relationship is possible. Oh, yeah, right. It's going to look like this. And so to do some work in changing the belief system around what is possible in relationship could be a really healthy thing. That Gemini moon in the 7th, wow, what would it be like if I could actually open myself up to trusting this? Oh, it's so scary. I'm just going to go hide again. But wow, what would happen if a really powerful, magical, passionate, and loving relationship came to me? What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that smell like? What kinds of things would we be doing? And to have this on your screen could very well encourage the rest of your body, the rest of your being, to be like, okay, hey, wait a second. I'm really powerful. I'm really magical. I'm really creative. I'm really passionate. And therefore, I can make somebody really happy. Wow, that's possible. And that alone, astrologically speaking, and somewhat intuitively speaking, that alone, I think, could help an incredible amount.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Awesome.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, moving right along. Carol and Brett. Hi there, Carol and Brett. Transiting Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter are now conjunct my Capricorn moon. Let's just think about that for a second before reading on. Can you all feel that? Can you all feel what that kind of feels like? Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. As if one weren't enough on my Capricorn moon. Okay, all right, got it. There's a feeling there. My partner's Libra Venus exactly squares my moon. His Cancer moon is, that should probably say conjoined, my Cancer sun. Number 1, do you believe we are twin flames? Number 2, during this deep Plutonian time for my Capricorn moon 7th, how does this play out in relationship with my husband? Okay, there's some big questions. Number 1, do you believe we are twin flames? So here's the first thing I want to say about that one. There is not necessarily an astrological correlate for the New Age interpretation of twin flame. So from my point of view, we're all flames holding light for another person. When you get into relationship, you're either holding the light for the person or you're not. My definition of twin flames is I hold the light for you, you hold the light for me. So if we want to call that both of you have cardinal suns in the 12th house, you're both 12th house cardinal. Yeah, there's some holding the light there for each other. One of you can inspire the other person when the other person goes into the 12th house. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? Where am I? Who am I? Yeah, and the other person is in a place of strength. Yeah, there's some twin flame action, holding the light. Sun and moon in conjunction, sun and moon in conjunction can very, very, very easily be about, you know, who I am on my deep, in my deep self is someone who inspires you out in the world. There's a very deep bond there. So yes, that very well, you know, depending on what your definition is of twin flames, could you be twin flames as you sure you can, very easily. Is there an astrological correlate to that? You know, I suppose you can make it up. Yeah, again, you know, your suns are both in the 12th house, sun moon conjunction. Sure, that could be, you know, part of it. Sure, but again, there's not really much in terms of astrological literature that I've seen that says, you know, well, when Venus is conjoined Mars, that denotes twin flame, you know, that kind of thing. So it's more conjectural. So that's the best answer I can give to number one. But here comes the fun one. During this deep Plutonian time for my Capricorn moon 7, how does this play out in relationship with my husband? This is huge because whenever a planet hits our moon, we're looking at our most vulnerable place, right? If I were to say that the moon is the emotional field of the heart, we've got a rib cage over that. Way turtle has the shell and the Cancer crab has the shell. We have a rib cage over our most tender spots. And if there's any sign that has a very strong protective coating on that sacred spot, it is that Capricorn moon. Because with Capricorn moon, we are not going to allow ourselves to devolve into any kind of hyper emotionality. But the trick is that sometimes we need to be really hyper emotional. Sometimes we need to emote. Sometimes we need to be very vulnerable and open up that space to other people. That's some hard stuff. And so if we have in our lifetime ever added another layer of protection and another layer of protection and another layer of protection, so that our sternum, instead of being here, is actually out here, we've got this really thick layer over us. And here comes Saturn, Pluto saying, I think it's time to do some work around this. I think it's time to really ask ourselves, you know, what's going on here? Can you open that up? Are there some things that need to be felt? So I like to think of this Saturn Pluto conjunction, Jupiter there too. Here comes Mars. I like to think of this as a very, very powerful time in our individual and collective. I don't want to talk about the collective so much, but our individual evolution, where we have to burn through the obstructions keeping us from the power, Pluto, and the necessary structure, the necessary form that the moon really wants to have. The moon really wants to feel safe. The moon in the 7th house needs to trust. And oh, it looks like Chiron is there too, and Lilith is there. So we've had some. So Carol, perhaps you have had some experiences in the past of this life or past lives that have said, okay, if I'm going to trust somebody, then they're going to have to fill out a form. And that's not often the way trust works. It's messy, and the moon, it's sometimes really messy. And here comes Saturn and Pluto saying, hey, is there any way we can, open that up and get all the mess out once and for all, and purge whatever uh, calcification might be happening in that place. So here comes Saturn and Pluto saying, what do you want? I want the committed relationship. There's Capricorn, 7th house, moon and Capricorn in the 7th house. Boy, wouldn't that feel really good to be solid and committed in relationship, stable, predictable, something that actually works. I like to think of Capricorn as what we need to do to get the wood stacked so we have enough to keep us warm for winter. What do we need to do here? What do we need for trust? So here comes Saturn, Pluto saying, stick with it. It's hard work. It will bring out anything that you have suppressed, repressed, or denied for, what's a Saturn cycle, 28 years. Now is the time to heal that. Now is the time to Saturn do the work. Now is the time to Pluto ask those really hard questions and peel those layers to find out what is really underneath there. Oh, I really want intimacy. That's so important. Well, then you're gonna have to open up and be vulnerable. Oh, but if I'm vulnerable, it exposes my heart, and I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't open that heart, then it's gonna be very hard, Saturn, on the growth Pluto of relationship. So Brett in this situation gets to be patient and calm. He gets to be solid and understanding for you in this process that may open cans of worms that you did not know were there, but that ultimately is teaching you how to trust. When we've seen all sorts of moon in the 7th house here today, how to feel safe in relationship. It's so incredibly important. The best way to do that is by jumping into the fire, asking all the really hard questions, and doing the hard work necessary in order to, good Capricorn, climb up that mountain of relationship. Any questions or comments on that? Carol, are you here?
Yes, hi. Sorry, the photo's not working. I couldn't figure it out on the computer. But I said I'm in retreat mode for a while, probably because of this Pluto Saturn thing coming in. And so I'm in retreat. I'm in stealth mode on here, I guess, and the computer did it for me. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a very emotional person. I work as a channel, and I've got that Cancerian moon. And I've been in a committed relationship for 22 years with a partner. But, oh yeah, you know, there's no doubt. I was raped as a child at knife point, so there's no doubt, you know, and I've worked so much this lifetime on that, from, you know, physical therapy, mental therapy, spiritual therapy, relationships, long-term relationships with women. And then I found my partner, who I knew to be my spiritual partner. So it's been an ongoing thing. And I have been through a very intense Pluto-Saturn return when I was 28, which is when the memory came back. So I kind of know some shit's going on, you know, because Pluto-Saturn's right there, that very intimate house. And I just, because my husband's got like 6 planets in Libra, I know sometimes that emotionality can be quite difficult. So I'm just interested in, as always, both of us, I'm trying to harmonize something that I probably can't harmonize because of that Pluto Saturn. You know, I may not can harmonize it. So I'm glad you said he's sitting here with us, you know, as those 6 planets in harmony. He's actually a great person to be patient and harmonize, but not easy times, you know. And no one would I wish to have another Pluto Saturn transit that I had to go through when I was.
Excuse me, Carol.
Yeah.
Please just answer the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I was answering the question.
Yes, but just briefly, thanks, because we've just gone over
I'm
time.
done.
Thank you.
Did you have another quick thing to add there, Carol?
No.
Nope. Okay. Okay. So this is about your strength. This is about your power. This is about Capricorn. Capricorn is going to see the job done. Capricorn is going to choose a mountain and climb it. And Capricorn is going to do the work necessary to get to that place they want to go and make a solid foundation in that place. So if what you want is healing the heart, if what you want is commitment and solidity, if what you want is a relationship that works, then Saturn Pluto is bringing up, reflecting the issues that are coming up in order for you to do that work of climbing up the hill. You get whipped by the branch, you twist the ankle, we want to give up. Capricorn says keep going. So if you do this right, you have the ability here to reclaim the fragmented parts of your heart that, since you offered the information, that were taken away from you in that shadow circumstance. So stick with it, do the work, love yourself impeccably, and know that, have a view of what it looks like when you have succeeded, and don't stop until you get there. Sound good?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Was that everybody? All right. Well, thanks everybody for playing along. If you'd like to have further conversation, or if you were not able to be included in this conversation, please go to ryanevansastrology.com and you can choose a reading. We can set something up and we can take it from there. Thanks so much, Linda.
Ryan, did you want to repeat what you were saying at the very beginning?
I'm sorry?
Some sort of, there's some sort of event or something that you were telling us about right at the very beginning?
Oh, what was that?
I don't know, can't remember.
Oh,
Can anyone
geez.
remember?
The
Something about the
WDR.
radio?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
Thank
Yeah. Neptune strikes again. Yes, in light of current events, I haven't listened to it, so I'm really interested to hear what I had to say. But I did an interview for my friends Paul and Paula, who have a show called The Heart of Wellness on wdrt.org. I sat and talked with them for an hour about the events, about the astrology, the impending astrology of 2020. And if my memory serves correct, that we're experiencing, I don't like to do predictive astrology, and I guess this is kind of why, but we're experiencing some things I remember kind of thinking about back then. So if you're so interested, feel free to check that out, wdrt.org/heart of wellness. Interview I did for the astrology of 2020 back on New Year's Eve. Actually, it was December, but it aired on New Year's Eve. So feel free to check that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan Evans. What a fantastic meeting. Thank you so much. And I'm just unmuting everyone now. Could you all please thank Ryan Evans?
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yay, you're so welcome. All right, well, thanks again.